Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today on Saskatchewan's podcast is Doug Will, who is one of the owners of Rawhides Bistro and Saloon in Stenen, Saskatchewan. Thanks, Doug, for joining us today.
You bet. It's an honor.
Okay, well, thanks. And maybe if you could start off by just giving us a little history of how this concept and business started and began in Stenen.
Well, yes, I guess we're farmers, so we farmed all of our lives, and of course we have an alfalfa mill down the road, and so we would go by the through Steenan, and there was an old King George hotel. We'd stop there on a Thursday for a wing and a beer, and these old hotels and these communities are getting pretty old and fragile, and lots of them are kind of burning down. And anyways, this one was for sale, and we thought about trying to keep it going, and it actually had burnt down. But the community was having a 100th anniversary, and the school in town had been shut down for some years, a brick schoolhouse. And so the community had asked if we'd be interested in maybe developing, since the old King George is gone, developing a new bistro and saloon that could kind of replace it. So I guess when you farmed as long as I have, you get tired of looking at dirt and you think, well, hey, maybe I could do something else with my life. And I've always kind of collected antiques and did some wood carpentry and refinishing stuff. So interested in that sort of thing. So we thought, hey, this would be kind of maybe a fun project. We weren't restaurant people, and we had no idea what was involved, but we took it on, and like I say, it was about 100 days when we took over the place to the 100th anniversary celebration, a long weekend on August. So we got all of the carpenters and people together, the plumbers and electricians, and said, okay, we got 90 days to put this place together, and everybody worked, and the town was very supportive. And we started at one end of the building, just coming up with ideas and designs. And the good news is the brick schoolhouse is quite unique. And so we basically kept the theme was, well, hey, let's go with an old Western town. And the hallway would turn into like the old town main boardwalk. And we'd have each classroom would be a little different business in the old Western town. And so that was kind of the concept. And we started at one end and put one classroom as the livery, where the horses would be staged. And of course, that was an eating area. And the next place was the jail. And so we had to fix up kind of a jail theme. And the sheriff's office was, of course, the office. So originally it was supposed to be a bar and for wings and a beer, but the building was so huge. We got partway through and thought, oh my goodness, we better do something in addition. So we thought, okay, let's turn it into a restaurant and get some kitchen equipment and develop a full-scale restaurant. So that's kind of what we did, and I guess the rest is history. We opened up about a week ahead of time and started Rawhides Bistro and Saloon.
And sorry, what year was that?
2012.
2012. Now, after you open the restaurant side of things, you've also added other businesses there. Can you explain what they are?
Yeah, so we had the restaurant, and we realized that it was kind of a destination place, and we should have an event center a little larger for holding corporate events and especially weddings and that sort of thing. So we developed an event center kind of on the theme of equestrian barn from down east. So it's got the vaulted ceilings, and we then built the outdoor deck to enclose all of this. Outdoors, it's kind of an oxymoron, but so that we could hold wedding. We did that in 2015, and so it's been very popular in terms of wedding events and some corporate events, and that kind of added a dimension. The plan originally was to do that and maybe have a spa and have some suites or people could rent. So in 2 years ago, we then added the spa where we do hair beauty salon and esthetician, manicure, pedicures, massage therapy. It's all kind of on the same theme. So I love to work with woods. So we used hardwoods in the spa, elm and blood maples on the vaulted ceilings and some stonework. And it all encompasses the um, um, outdoor venue that we got a stage there for outdoor events, and we also have fire pits in the center and different colored sand. So we have black sand, white sand, red sand, and yellow sand is a kind of a unique aspect, and kids can play with the toys in the sandbox.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you look back at things, are you surprised at how successful this has become?
Yeah, to be honest with you, from an economic point of view, when we started, it probably didn't make good sense to build something of this magnitude in a small community. And lots of customers over the years have said, "Wow, this should be in Saskatoon or Calgary or some. How does this work?"
Yeah,
And the reason it works is because number one, the local people, the communities around, were kind of looking for a meeting place. Most of the old hotels had kind of dilapidated or were gone, and so they were kind of looking for a place where people could meet and have a nice meal and visit. And number two, of course, interesting for the broader picture in terms of people coming from afar to spend some time or a destination place. We're close to three lakes, with golf courses and I guess when we were doing the thought process, we thought, well, people would probably travel up to an hour and a half to come for a nice fine dining experience. And so we drew a circle around the map of Stenen, and we figured there was maybe enough people to support it. But interesting enough, we get many, many people from 2.5 hours drive, Regina, Saskatoon, Melfort, in Manitoba, Roblin, um,
wow.
and just they're traveling through. They heard of the place, and we had a couple on Valentine's Day just behind where I was sitting, young couple. And it was kind of storming out. It was the week before Valentine's Day, and they'd come from Carlisle, I think about 2.5 hour. And I said, "You been here before?" And he said, "No, he just brought his girlfriend here. It was her birthday and Valentine's Day." And
Wow.
I said, "You drove 2.75 hours to get here, and you got 2.75 hours to drive home, and you just came to Rawhides for dinner." And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, I tell you, I sure hope we don't disappoint in the kitchen." So when he left, he said, "No, the food was great and the service, and he just loved the place." So he said they'd be back. So I guess that's kind of, that's the part that makes us feel good, that it's kind of some way it's worked out.
Hmm. You mentioned where it's located in a small town, but it's also off the beaten path, off the highway. And uh, how do you find staff and get staff to operate? Because it's obviously a big place and quite busy.
Yeah. So yeah, that it was we never realized like I said, we weren't restaurant people. We didn't realize the success. We didn't realize the amount of staff we'd need. We started by advertising for a Red Seal chef, and so we got one from Toronto that come out here, and the ad said that we wanted somebody to develop the kitchen. We'd buy the equipment, but we didn't know what to buy. So when the first chef, Chris Saletta, came out, and excellent. He was even a carpenter. So he helped us build the place a little bit. And excellent chef and great menu items and beautiful presentation. I asked him, I said, "Well, why would you come from Toronto to a little community of Stenen?" And he said, "Well, Doug, every chef's dream is to have the ability to develop their own kitchen with brand new equipment." He
Mm.
said, "You'd be surprised at how many big restaurants have like old equipment in the kitchen." So he said, "I could buy anything I wanted and I could set it up." And he said, "I just love doing it." And so I think that the culinary experience that people have is helping to word of mouth, have people from near and far come and join us for some of those exquisite tastes. So we've had a couple of head chefs since that time and added different menu items to our menu, but it certainly has done us well. And like I said, we snowmobile right on the snowmobile uh, traffic in the wintertime and motorcycles in the summertime. We get lots of motorcycle groups coming in as a destination. We got a big campground, so we can fill that up with RVs. And so it just, like I said, it was partly a lot had to do with luck. And I
Mm.
guess when we were building it, the key is to lots of antiques and things to look at, right? We've got some metal guys that help us out serving. And you asked about the staffing. The interesting part is a lot of our staff is foreign people. We have interesting. The old school is where we were learned about the different cultures around the world, the different nationalities. And in here in this little old brick schoolhouse, we have like 7 different nationalities from 7 different countries, including some locals as well. But from Europe, we got from Belgium, we got from the Middle East, from Persia. We have customers, we have workers or servers or employees from Bangladesh, from India, from the Philippines, and so it from all different walks of life and all different cultures, and that brings another experience to our customers. They love to talk to these people that have brought in international perspective to life in the world, and
Yeah.
it went over well. It's just a beautiful feeling watching that happen.
So how do you get to come out there, as I said, to a small town?
Yeah, so that's an interesting. There's we have some people from the Ukraine that are working here, and they came from a small community in the Ukraine, so they feel right at home. And our community here was based originally populated by Ukrainians and Russians, and so some of them still speak the language. So the Ukrainian people that are employed here, they're kind of excited because hey, they can talk in their language to some of the customers, right? Other people have come from the cities, and so we're kind of a stepping stone, right? Part of their process of
Yeah.
gaining residency to Canada. And so it does, we feel good about the numbers of individuals and couples that we've helped support that go on to other places after they get their residency and join their workforce and are good tax paying citizens and raise families. So, we're pretty happy about that. And we certainly get some local people as well, but it's tough finding people wanting to work in the service industry, and so we got to compete with other businesses as well. And
Yeah, for people coming from elsewhere, do you provide like accommodations or because imagine, there's not too many rentals in
so,
Stenen, right?
yeah, so we have some we purchased some housing and from people retiring and moving to bigger
Yeah.
centers. We turn them into suites, so we can you can just come here. You can spend a fun evening, and you can rent a suite and just walk across the street, and you got accommodations. We also have a large campground, so people bring their RV and they'll spend a few days and or tenting and that sort of thing. So that adds another element to the summer camping experience for the folks. And like I said, we're kind of surrounded by about 4 pretty good lakes, which
Mhm.
brings in lots of traffic from lots of the major centers. Plus, people here then can camp here and stay here, and then go golfing somewheres and come back for evening and for dining
Yeah.
experience. So that it all works out.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, Doug?
Um, Well, I grew up in a little town called New Osgood, which was named after Old Osgood in Ontario, which is
Oh,
northeast of Tisdale.
okay.
But and was raised on the family farm, and of course farmed all my life. First with my dad and brothers, and then later with my 2 of my sons. I got 3 sons, and 2 of them are farming with me. The third one has a business in Saskatoon, and about 25 years ago moved from the Tisdale Melfort area down to Stenen. And we actually as well have a alfalfa processing plant that we produce alfalfa pellets for soil nutrition and fertilizer. And we farm grains and oil seeds. And then this restaurant's kind of an addition to all that. So it kind of keeps us hopping.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. What did you farm? What was the family farm?
Yeah, so on the family farm at home, of course, we always raised cattle, and grain, we'd do wheat and barley and oats, and alfalfa, we'd bale up hay and for the cattle in the wintertime, and dad had maybe 100 cows. And so we'd be part of that operation and everything else, we'd buy high and sell low and then go out of business there. But
Uh,
that was the tough part of farming. And so we kind of evolved into more grain farming. So
yeah.
that's kind of what we do.
What do you think from that farming background, you learned about being a business person?
Well, the first thing is hard work. You don't you come up with a plan or a dream, and you never know what it's going to take to complete that. If we knew what it was going to take to finish the project, we'd probably never start. So, like the farm, whether you're building corrals or whether you're building you're never quite sure, but you have a plan, you have a dream, and you'd put the work in to get it done. And the same with the mill, and I guess the same with the restaurant. Looking back, I can't imagine if we knew everything we had to do to make this successful, we might have got scared right off the bat and not done it. And I think a lot of people have good ideas and great ideas, but they get stopped by not taking that next great big step.
Hmm.
So I think if you can try to see the end result, and once you get started, you can't you can't back up, right? You can't have a job half done. So then you're committed, and then you just go for it. So that's the one thing. And the second thing is that we learn some of the simple things in life, and we don't need everything high tech. And so part of our restaurant is antiques and olden stuff that people enjoy looking at, and the bars, we could tell you stories for hours about how we got these big wooden bars, and I'm a coin collector, so I got antique coins, and we put polyester lacquer over top, so it's kind of interesting for people to look at that. Oh, look at the different coins, and
Yeah, yeah.
so we've got so there's all kinds of things that people can look at. We got a kids room for the kids to play, and we got in one of the cool registers we developed, we got a pretty good fabricating team at the mill. So we made a metal cat and a mouse, and they're hiding in the register, and a leprechaun. And so the kids come, and if they find those articles in the restaurant, they get a treat. So when the parents come and the kids got something they can keep busy at, well, the parents are visiting, socializing a little bit. And not too many restaurants maybe have that aspect in terms of trying to create a family venue. We got a tennis or a volleyball court outside, so the kids can go play volleyball if they want. So it's kind of a whole family entertainment thing that's
Cool.
and it kind of works, right? Kind of
Yeah.
works.
Do you think you'll ever replicate this in maybe another small town?
Well, I tell you, people have asked that, but I think the total encompasses like 7 or 8 or 10,000 square feet. So it's huge. And to put something like this inside of a city would be astronomical in cost. And the food is quite is terrific, but I think our success has got to do as well with the venue itself, the sights to see while you're here, the magnitude of the place.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to maybe replicate the same thing here. But I guess people have always asked me, well, what about having it here or having one there? And we've considered that, and I would never say never if the right opportunity comes along. And like I said, I think that we kind of know how it works now and what to do. And we're not really restaurant people yet, but we're getting closer. We probably could replicate it and partnership or franchise it out or something. That's a possibility.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thanks, Doug, for taking the time today.
You bet. It's always a pleasure and sharing our experience, and hopefully welcome more customers to Rawhides Bistro and Salon.
All right. That's Doug Well, who is one of the owners of Rawhides Bistro and Saloon in Stenen, Saskatchewan. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.